Now tuning in to Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.
I just wish for you to watch Joy and not the news. You know?
Yeah, I'll consider it.
Great. And when you're not watching Schitt's Creek, listen to our podcast of Into the Twilight as you are doing right now. Hi, welcome to the space.
Welcome
Hi.
everyone to the podcast.
Hi. Cody, how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing okay, you know. We're getting a little snow moment at the moment. So that's fun. And I'm trying to forget about everything going on in the news right now.
Good.
Because it's been a week.
Welcome.
I thought it was Thursday all day. It's not
Same,
Thursday. I was just like, can I please? It's like I've been crawling towards Friday. I'm like, I don't want to hear about Iowa again. I don't want to hear. I'm done. I'm so tired. Please just let me just die, please.
I have learned so much about Iowa in the past 48 hours than I have my entire life. Yeah. And I appreciate it, but also I don't care. Like I don't need to know.
Yes.
I appreciate the knowledge, but I just would like to go back to not knowing because of the fact that it did nothing. Like it didn't help me at all.
Yeah, I was in a situation where I was explaining to my roommate and a friend of ours how caucuses work, and it truly was making me lose my mind and everyone else's mind because of how silly and ridiculous it is. I was like, I have all of this garbage knowledge in my brain, and all of it is dumb and stupid. And none of this makes any sense. And this is all silly. And it's fundamental to our democracy. And that's a frustrating duality.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. I have been trying to teach my students about how to regulate their brains. And reminding myself that regulating emotions and stress is a skill. That you have to practice and hone. And you learn that. And we somehow need to continue to learn and practice that. And oftentimes the folks that I interact with online need to remember to practice and hone those skills.
Yeah.
So today, instead of engaging with the current online discourse about our impeachment, which I would have usually done, I knew that it was not going to help us regulate our stress. So we instead learned different breathing techniques to regulate our stress.
Yeah.
And that was how we helped ourselves today. And my kids thought I was weird because I was making them breathe a lot.
Right.
But God damn it, if it didn't help me. So that's where we were at today in my classroom, of just teaching them how to breathe and how to understand their bodies, which, goddamn, y'all, remember to breathe and breathe often is what I will say to you.
Yeah.
Because
it's hard out here, folks.
It is rough.
Sometimes you just forget to breathe.
I had to remind them all today because I needed this reminder when I was their age that, like, having a headache and a stomach ache is not normal. Like, a constant stomach ache and a constant headache from like stress and anxiety is not normal. But it was my normal growing up. And it is now, but for like different reasons.
Yeah.
And so having to tell, like, if someone would have told me that when I was younger, that, like, if your stress and your worrying is causing these things, that would have been a good reminder to be like, oh, I should probably, like, talk to someone.
Right. This might not be good, actually.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's a little bit of a middle school corner. But also, in that same vein, I had kids take hand sanitizer and try to throw it into each other's eyes today. So, duality
kids.
of man.
Kids these days.
And then also, in between our lectures today, kids are, just trying to practice their TikTok dances. So, kids are still kids, which is a good reminder that even though the world is on fire, and our democracy is crumbling around us, you can still dance, It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we have current events, but thank God it is not the news. It is our corner of the news.
Yeah, baby.
Which is the good stuff. It is our good place. You know what I mean? Also, toss one out for the good place.
Yeah, pour one out, baby.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with our corner of the news, or do you want to end with
our
that?
own? We made some news, baby.
We have our own news.
Of our own. We have our own news.
We have our own. We have what I would venture to say is a music corner, maybe. Perhaps.
Sure. Yeah.
Great. Here at Into the Twilight, we love a good analytics moment.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite things to look at is just like seeing all about our data. And so I finally got a chance to like go deep in the paint with Spotify. And more than usual, Spotify's analytics are very easy to understand, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about this too is it gives data about Spotify and how the users use that app and not just specific to our podcast.
Right.
Which allowed us to see some interesting and I would argue valuable information about you all when you use
I would say concerning.
I would also agree as concerning information about how some of you use Spotify when listening to this podcast and then going immediately to your music afterwards.
Yeah.
So it gave us in the past month, some of the top artists that y'all have been listening to on Spotify, while also listening to our podcast. And so specifically it said your podcast listeners have streamed these artists the most in the last 28 days. Here are these 5 artists.
The nominees are.
Yes, the nominees are, let me open my little booklet here. Eminem. Also, the fact that 3 of these 5 artist photos are in black and white is really,
It's telling.
okay. Eminem. Mac Miller. Pour one out.
Yeah.
Post Malone. Drake. And Kanye West. Here's my question for y'all. How are you doing?
Are y'all good?
Are you okay? Are you breathing?
Guys. Guys.
I will say after I saw these, I am the first thing I did is I screenshot them and I put them on our Twitter. And then the second thing is I just immediately got that fucking song from Into the Spider-Verse stuck in my head of Post Malone.
Oh, yeah.
The Sunflower one or whatever.
That's the only Post Malone song that matters.
It's the only song
FYI.
I know from Post Malone.
Yeah.
So I just got that song stuck in my head, which is like not the worst thing, I guess, but still.
Right. It's a banger in its own right.
It's all right.
But like, guys,
come on, really?
We got some sad boys in the building.
This is
sad boy. Sorry, it should be more like boing, 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 boing.
If this was 4 years ago, I would play that ham horn that we used to do. Oh,
don't you bring up the ham horn?
Pour one
in
out
2020.
Pour one out for the ham horn.
I hope that app just like turned into dust. Like, no one remembers ham horn.
Oh, I miss you, ham horn. Anyway, yeah, that is really illuminating.
Yeah, so get some help. We're here for you. But you know,
wow.
Carly Rae Jepsen is free, so
yeah,
she's also on Spotify, so you can just feel serotonin instead. That's a choice.
Halsey's on Spotify.
That's also that's a somber dance.
Well, fair.
Vibe.
I was just expecting more like gay. I don't know.
Yeah, it's honestly an upsettingly hetero roster of artists.
There's just a lot of dudes there.
Yeah.
Like a lot of straight dudes.
Yeah.
And that's not what I was expecting at all.
No, that's not the demo we usually project to.
Like, I know our demo. Like, I've seen our demographics of age, and I know who we cater to, and those 5 artists are not it.
Yeah.
That does not represent
doing, the math in my head. I'm like, it's not adding up. I don't know.
Yeah,
make it make sense.
I'm so confused. I want it to make more sense to me personally. But you know, whatever, chase your bliss. Find a weighted blanket and a sad lamp, you know. Get some coffee, I guess. Okay. So, why don't you select our next current event, please?
Ooh. Okay. Let's do some math corner, baby.
All right, take us to the math corner, please.
I will. We're back with our paths, Robert, mathematician corner.
That's what I always say.
We do this every week. You're familiar with the format. So the New York Post did a little piece this week on our boy Robert,
our man,
who's saying that a doctor, a plastic surgeon, has dubbed Robert Pattinson with the mathematically and scientifically proven most attractive face
he's
in the world.
This doctor.
Heavy quotes.
This man.
Yeah.
On his main Instagram. His business, his work Instagram is being so horny on Maine.
Yeah.
The gall.
Yeah, listen, I respect it. That's a power play.
I love that, first of all.
Yeah.
So
he posted this little photo on his Instagram where he has like 11,000 followers, so hell yeah, doctor, whatever. Wow. A photo of Robert with just like a bunch of little ticker boxes on like his forehead and his like shape with little percentages. Apparently they're in reference to the Greek golden ratio of beauty.
You know.
Which, I don't know about y'all, sounds extremely...
white?
Eurocentric.
Yep.
And eugenic-esque. Like, just a whiff of a, perfect facial features. Whatever. So, it's apparently based on this. I'm not familiar with it, but that exists, apparently. And so there's all these little boxes. He's got a 92.15% of the golden ratio.
That's a good old A- to me. That's strong.
But yeah, it's a strong A-. His strongest feature is his chin, which is a fucking 95.1.
Yeah.
Just fucking look at that bad boy. Come on.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Followed closely behind with a 94.67 by nose width / length. With a girthy nose. Ladies, Mr. Pattinson with the girthy nose.
Stop saying girthy.
No.
The
sexiest man? Sorry? The haughtiest man? With the girthiest nose?
Would it be crude to call it a chode nose?
No, it would not. No, I think that would be only appropriate.
I don't know the percentage, what is, I don't know.
No.
The math here isn't what, in terms of a nose, why? What is the ratio from length to width? What is the golden? I'm so confused. I hate it.
I can't look at this man's nose anymore. I think you've ruined.
Oh my god.
Oh, I think you've ruined Robert for me.
I did?
I think it's just his photo and his chode nose.
Listen, I'm not saying it is a chode nose, but if someone...
Listen, we'll call a spade a spade.
No.
Also, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about our favorite identifier here, which is... So, listen, this doctor... This doctor uses some weird qualifiers here, like eye position. And then, overall, he, points to the sideburns, and that's where he labels it as, face shape. And it's okay, well, those are called sideburns.
Sure.
But my favorite one, and this is the one that, off recording, we laughed about the most, which is nose base / lip width. Which is where, on this face, it's pointing to Robert's mustache area, aka upper lip area.
AKA the nose base lip width.
Yeah. And this is powerful.
Could you imagine it being yeah, I don't know, my face feels kind of funny. It's sort of hurting it, I don't know, my nose base, you know what I mean?
The base of my nose.
My nose base?
Where my lips are the widest. That part.
The width of my lip, you know what I mean? It's you can say mustache, it's fine.
Yeah.
You can say it. It's okay.
There's a word for that.
Ugh. I will say, upon reading this caption, second place, Henry Cavill.
Again, very white, but...
Right. Yes, but strong face.
But a very strong, a very chiseled face, one would say.
Yes.
Okay, so again, Bradley Cooper, chiseled face.
Brad Pitt.
Chiseled.
Hottie.
And apparently, the who has slumped the farthest to 5th place, George Clooney, who could also get it, chiseled face. God. Are you telling me... Sorry. Silver Fox, George Clooney...
I'm familiar.
Could not get it?
He could get it. At a certain point in
always. Time. You mean always? You mean right now?
And with a certain demographic of people.
Me. The answer is me, and like I would argue most horny women, who also watched Made in Manhattan. That demographic.
Made in Manhattan was so long ago.
I'm talking about the genre of cheesy movies that were on TV that I also grew up with. Mm-hmm. The type of person that was also attracted to a Richard Gere type.
Okay, yeah.
My type, one would argue. Yes. All right. This is interesting. Thank you for this math corner. I appreciate it.
Of course, always.
I wasn't... Sorry, I was like itching my nose, and then it sounded like I was a villain for a second.
Wait.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. We had some brief underwater news. K-Stu always sticking up for her films, which I appreciate.
We stand.
And a lot of people who were just like, hey, did you love this? See what you had to talk about. A lot of the experiences in this were, one, just reminding people this was filmed a long time ago, aka that's why she had a buzz cut in it. And also just reminding people that, like, she doesn't like water. So, that's what's going on. Okay, so the main piece that I wanted to get to here is from Pop Sugar. The Pop Sugar Entertainment article from Australia, that is 17 faces Penn Badgley makes in Netflix's You that proves his acting skills are incredible.
Thank you, Penn.
Thank you. Now, I was told by our producer that, and our producer being Cody, that I can't talk about this whole article because it's all
absolutely
visuals. Not. I'm just getting this in just right now, breaking news, also from our producer. Great. I'm getting this news right now that I can talk about at least one of these, though.
Yes, you can.
And so
what if I was just, like, speaking into your ear?
I mean, you are speaking into my ear right now, so... You're speaking into both of my ears.
Can you play the space a little bit? Can you keep playing the space, please?
I am playing it.
Can we have some fun little broadcast news report for once? God.
So I'm getting this right now. Just a couple more updates with me. Please stay tuned. We're getting some breaking news. Beep 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 beep. Okay, I'm getting this right now. Okay, I can talk about 3 of these photos then.
No.
Fuck
Fine.
you.
No, go for it. No, take your fucking corner.
Okay.
Do it.
So,
prove me wrong.
All of these photos are fantastic.
Gotta sell this.
And I'm excited to share them with you now. The first one that is arguably the best one, but I want to start off with this one, is number 10, which is titled Joe Goldberg's No, I Will Not Chill Out Face. Which, from title alone, I resonate with deeply.
Right.
And then it loads. And, dear listener, everything fundamentally changed for me. Now, one could argue that this is already quite a horny episode.
We started off pretty strong. Yeah.
We started off quite chode heavy, one would say. But if you follow along, and if you look at this GIF with me as well, you will notice that Penn's face in this is, one, quite aggressive.
Yes.
And as his Scorpio self, when he gets quite angry, you will notice specifically in this, there are a lot of veins present.
Yeah.
There are a lot of veins in his neck that bulge out, getting a lot of, like, peacocking happening in this space.
Yeah.
But that won't be the first thing that you see. Because you will notice quite immediately, before you even notice his, like, terrifying gaze on you, are these 3 lightning bolt veins in his forehead.
Harry Potter ass bitch.
Yeah, this, like, the boy who lived motherfucker happening here. The ones on the right look very pitchforky, like there's one main vein, and then a little, like, whoop, coming out. And then the other is just a strong, girthy boy.
Stop.
No, I can't, because all I see in this is, like, one, it's very intimidating, which makes me personally, like, I love an angry man. Like, that activates something in me that I'm like, oh, okay.
That's your double Scorpio going, baby.
When I see an angry Scorpio, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, you want me to be intimidated, but also, like, I love that. But then the next thing immediately is I'm like, oh, your face looks like a dick, though.
Yeah.
He's got a peen forehead.
Yeah. It's not great. I mean, it is very good, but it's also awful.
Like, how does it feel, Pen, to have a literal dickhead?
Nice, dude.
To be a literal dickhead.
Sick. Hold on, let me high five you for that one, buddy. Hell yeah,
I got
dude.
it. It just took a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, travel, you know.
Is that 3-hour
waves.
delay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so fucking showed face.
Oh my god.
Our dude.
How many, do you think at some point, does our explicit turn into, like, an X or something? Or just like an M?
Like a triple X. It's like, this is porn. You can't.
You can't say chode that many times.
Listen, I put some questionable things in our episode titles, and we've not gotten flagged. So,
yeah, that's true.
What are they gonna do? Listen to this podcast? Come on.
What do you think that iTunes is gonna do? Actually have to listen to this?
Fucking come on! There's so many podcasts. We're just flying under the radar, baby. We can do whatever we want.
That's true. They'd have to listen to all these to have to prove something, so they're not gonna do that.
Here, meanwhile, this is being played in a courtroom.
The first time that we meet is in a courtroom. Honestly, I love that for us.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Do you think that, instead of my one call from jail, my one request could be that in the courtroom we don't have to face each other?
Back to back.
Just keep the mystery alive.
Yeah, commit to a bit.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
There are, like, some of these that we still haven't seen, like, some of these faces we still haven't seen yet.
Yeah, spoilers.
Spoilers. Which makes me very curious. Like, there's one that I noticed, 15, which made me very curious. It's a strong mood of what looks like him in a bathtub, just freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
Looks like he's just tripping balls.
It'd be like that sometimes.
You know what? Listen, life is like that. Life just, hey, from what I've heard sometimes is life just, like, finds a way. You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
And so this makes me incredibly curious to see where things go.
Hell yeah.
Hell to the yeah. Okay, we have a question. Would you like to read it?
You fucking bet, dude.
Well, then do it, coward.
This is from Rebecca, one of our patrons.
Yes.
Who asks, please talk about the fact that 40 plays Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's mentioned by this episode. And what do you think his moral alignment is?
First of all, that doesn't surprise me at all.
No. 40 for sure.
That's
into D&D.
How he makes connections in LA.
Yeah.
It's because
Here's the thing. Yeah, it's just through
how all
D&D
the
support groups.
That's how, well, that, and also that's how all the cool kids get on episodes of fucking podcasts and live fucking shows
Sure.
and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that makes sense to me. 40's moral alignment is chaotic something.
Yes. My first instinct was chaotic good, but I think he has like the veneer of like wanting to be good, but maybe that's just him being an idiot. You know what I mean? Like maybe he's just a little dumb. He's not actually well-meaning, because especially in this episode, we hear some questionable things from our boy.
Agreed.
So maybe it feels like his heart is kind of in the right place. He's just dumb. I don't know. I have no real judgment.
I like to believe good things from him.
Sure. Yeah. I agree. I will say, this is not an alignment, but the one thing I know about Dungeons & Dragons is that the bards just want to fuck people and also distract everyone from doing what they want to be doing.
He gives off strong bard vibes to me.
Which, like, first of all, relatable. Second of all, for sure a 40 moment.
For real.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I feel like he is definitely a bard. Absolutely. I don't know much about that, even though I've played D&D several times, but yes, I agree.
Wow, we love a gamer.
I'm actually like a super gamer girl, so.
Oh my god. What?
Okay, let's get into this bullshit.
Oh.
So, I would say that last episode's title was arguably the best because the fact that it had the Welkened thing in it.
Right,
but this one is, and this one I would say is, the title alone is rough, of Farewell My Bunny.
Yeah.
However, I don't know. I think last episode is hard to top.
Sure.
However, this episode has a lot going for it.
Yes, it's definitely an episode where they're setting up a lot of interesting stuff and like setting them in motion. There's not like, I feel like the last episode was kind of like a bit of an interlude almost, because we were in a different setting and like there were different environments and there were different relations, like still things kind of continuing to go on and being planted and stuff, but nothing like truly like was a huge like stuff. But all this episode was like a lot of things are going like, like things are coming, things are happening.
Right.
We're setting things in motion, we're moving, we're going. This is gonna all, come together.
Yes, this one, it felt like things were starting to pop off a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it felt much more engaging than in...
Speaking of popping off, can we start talking about this hard open with Kathy Griffin?
Yeah,
Question mark?
What the actual fuck?
What was that conversation like?
In this universe...
In the year of our Lord...
Kathy Griffin exists.
Right. And is doing the eulogy at Chris D'Elia's funeral.
Yeah, in this universe, Henderson is tight with Kathy Griffin, which, I guess makes sense.
It's supposed to be a big deal, or whatever.
Yeah, sure, I guess. I don't know. Netflix has the money. Right. So I guess that makes sense.
It's just such a weird gamble for a flex. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you know who'd be great? Who we can flex all of our Netflix capital on? Fucking Kathy Griffin, baby.
I'm also just trying to imagine who else they would imagine would be like a weird, a weird comedian get for them.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know who that poll would even be.
Right.
So it makes sense in my brain, but in life it makes no sense at all. because I saw her and I was like, no.
Right.
It was very startling.
Yeah.
Plus this idea that Kathy Griffin is just talking about Crystalia, aka Henderson, as like super cool, and everyone's super broken up about it, as if like Henderson did not have all of these photos of women, like is not just this super gross person,
and was like a notorious douchebag.
Yes,
even if people didn't know that shit, you know, like not a likable guy.
Yeah, that even though like Joe murdered him,
right,
and Joe is still the problem here, Henderson was still awful. Like that does not negate anything about him.
Right.
And then starting this off at a funeral is still interesting to me because 40 is like broken up about it and is like, oh yeah, my dude Henderson, as if like he was not like fuck Henderson just like a couple episodes ago, and was not getting trashed at his party a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
So again, grief does weird things to people.
Right.
It brings on existential crises, so I get that. Which I guess also explains why 40 is like, you know what makes sense in my brain? Candace, what up? Let's move in together.
Yeah.
But it's also just like, can we not do this though?
Yeah. I will say it was a pretty big mood when Danielle just had a fucking flask at the funeral.
Yes.
Very powerful.
I loved that. I loved that a lot. Let's talk about these 7 totems.
Oh my god.
This idea that like when you achieve them, you are no longer just a transplant. You understand Los Angeles from now on.
You belong here.
Yep. Yep, that you have made it.
Yeah.
You lived on the West Coast.
I did.
Tell me about this definitely not appropriative idea of 7 totems. And you see any of these 7 totems?
Definitely saw rollerbladers and booty shorts.
Yeah.
For sure. Almost every day. Police helicopter, yes. 2 starlets wearing the same dress. I don't think so, but I love that. I think that's very great. Pack of coyotes. No, I wasn't north enough for that. Dog in a stroller, absolutely. I feel like I see that here in Chicago, too. Like, I feel like I've seen a dog in a stroller everywhere I've ever lived. It's just like old white ladies be like that, you know? Like, they just love to put their dogs in strollers wherever they are.
That's true. That is a Seattle thing, too. That's just like...
Yes.
That's just a thing.
Yeah. Off-brand superhero, absolutely. And I've not seen a palm tree on fire. I don't think.
They made that seem like that was quite common.
I mean, Los Angeles is notoriously always on fire, so...
True.
It's probably more likely in recent years. I haven't been there in a minute, so maybe, you know.
Maybe. So you need 2.
Yeah.
You're like almost there.
I mean, I did live there for 12 years, so I mean, still say...
It's true. You're like basically... Yeah. You're like totems are almost filled. I hated this part.
It's awful.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because they're still trying to lean into this idea of like Los Angeles is awful. But this idea of totems I was just like, ooh, can we not though?
And it's just like such a weird departure, from the funeral we just witnessed, but also just like the way that they talk to each other. Like it feels so weirdly scripted and not like a normal human conversation, because they're like play acting it so much, because they're all like alternating like, oh, here's like a pack of coyotes, and then someone's like, oh, a dog in a stroller, and it's like all this weird like super high energy like conversation.
Yeah, especially from the fact that this is so obviously setting up that it's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen to Joe in this episode. And it's like, yeah, he's going to find him all. Like, we got it.
Yeah. Right.
We get it. It's very clear here. Um,
Thank you.
how did you feel about this flashback to Love with her late husband?
Hmm.
Because this is
Interesting.
like the main one
Right.
of the, I guess not like the, not even really the B plot of this necessarily, but like one of the plots of this episode is that it's
Mhm.
Love's anniversary with her late husband.
Right. Yeah. I thought it was interesting. Love a return to flashback bangs. Very
Flashback
important.
bangs.
Love that. There's no other way to know if it's a flashback unless you
It's
got
true.
bangs.
It's
How
true.
else will you know? You only have bangs in the past.
You do.
um, I thought it was interesting how they kind of navigated like this like deaf and sign language situation.
Yes, I
That
agree.
was surprising. I for a show that, and I guess a series in general that has famously not been very tact in their approach to things. It seemed like a pretty like good, just like normal like introduction of it or like integration of it into the plot or whatever, and just
For
like yeah,
sure.
they're married and they're talking how they normally would converse, and that's like a whole thing. And it doesn't feel like weird or like abnormal.
Absolutely. It
Yeah.
there wasn't a big deal made out of it at all. Like
Right.
he was just himself and he
Yeah.
was deaf. And like
Right.
there wasn't a big backstory about it.
Right.
There
It wasn't
wasn't
like tied to trauma or like this
no.
whole like sad thing. Yeah.
And this show seems like most shows that would do
Mhm.
that. And so
Right.
for them to not lean into that was incredibly, one, surprising,
Right.
but also incredibly refreshing of just like, oh,
Hmm.
this is just her husband.
Right.
He is just deaf. It's not
Yeah.
that big of a deal.
Right.
Um, the thing that most caught me off guard was I thought he was dead because she killed him. That's
Yeah.
how I expected it to be, and not like because of what seems like natural causes in
Yeah.
this.
I
Which
listen. I know you really want Love to just be Bonnie and Clyde killing shit.
that's what I assumed in this, is that there was
Yeah.
some like weird backstory here. But for it to
Yeah.
just be that like he just died, I was like kind of shocked by that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's super shocking because, like, even in the first episode, she seemed pretty, like, still broken up about that kind of stuff. And unless she's,
Yeah.
like, Joe level of good at hiding that, right? It's probably genuine to some extent.
Oh, I think
Um,
it's genuine.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just thought that like I don't know.
It was more directly, like,
Yeah, I just
her
thought she killed
involvement.
him.
Yeah.
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 But yes, I was definitely taken aback by how in not involved, but how intrigued I was by that backstory.
Right.
Because of the fact that it was much more well done than I had anticipated.
Yeah.
But as far as other backstories, I was not that interested in Delilah and Ellie's story this episode.
No.
I felt like they needed to keep them in here as far as just like moving their story forward, but it
Right.
just did not do that much for me as far as
Yeah.
like Delilah's like there and she like wants to keep her story going, but she's just like she did that thing of like getting hurt by her curling iron by like grabbing it with her hand, which just
Yeah.
like made me upset because I had like a sympathy pain for her.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Like, ow, now my hand hurts.
Exactly. I was just like, fuck. Like, I know that feel.
Yeah.
Also, I know that last week we had talked about Candace introducing Love to Beck's book, but I think that's all that, like, there had been talk about. And so this week there was more information that 40 wants to adapt Beck's story from the book into a movie. That is so fucking wild to me.
It's so funny. Could you imagine Joe being like a producer on a fictionalized like television show or movie about his fucking ex-girlfriend who he murdered and wrote a fake book about to clear up like his allegations and stuff?
It's unreal to me.
So fucking funny.
Yeah, that seems like the weirdest twist. I mean, it makes sense for, like, 40's character.
Right.
That he just sees, like, a story there. But Joe just being like, no, fuck, no.
And also, if we're being real, 40 can't write anything himself and be good. So why not take something else and make that something?
Right. Yeah, that also tracks. So of course, like, he sees the contact sheet, he sees Candace's information, and he's like, "Aw, dope. I'm gonna just take this. I'm gonna sneak like a Looney Tune character and just go and like find her and track her down." And then this whole episode ends up being like Joe sneaking to Candace's house, Candace sneaking to Joe's apartment, and them just like both missing each other, but just like sneaking around each other. Which is, it was like interesting.
Scooby-Doo, like, montages where everyone's just running in different doors and they're all going missing each other.
Exactly. That's exactly how this ends up. Yeah, so Candace ends up going into Candace ends up going to Joe's apartment.
Yes.
And convinces Delilah to, like, let her in. Which was wild to me. This whole, oh yeah, we were dating, but I just need my earrings back. And does this whole, like, Me Too movement speech on her. Right. Which was a lot to see.
Yeah. Especially for someone who is still recently recovering from, like, horrible shit.
Yes, exactly.
And has had to come in direct contact with that by going to his fucking funeral.
Oh, God.
Like, woof.
It was not great.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, it didn't end up working the way that she wanted it to, and so it seems very clear that, like, Candace is going to come back since she didn't end up getting kind of the satisfaction that she wanted. Right. And, of course, like, Joe was sneaking into Candace's place. And this is the part that was the most buck wild to me.
Unreal. It's unreal.
In this whole episode. Oh my God. So, this idea that Joe was like, cool, I'm gonna go sneak in, I'm gonna fuck up Candace. And then he just gets, like, fucking just knocked the fuck down.
Yeah.
And is just, like, taken down by what looks like a dominatrix.
Yeah.
I love this scene more than anything else in my whole life. It's so good.
Because he, like, wakes up, realizes he is in full, like, bondage, tie-up, rope situation.
Which he's never seen before in his whole life.
Right, of course, he's a virgin.
Yeah. He's just... he's so confused. He's like, how do ropes even move like this?
Help. And so they're having a beef because he's like, who the fuck are you? And she's like, I'm Candace's roommate. Who the fuck are you? Or Amy's room, whatever.
Yes. Whatever.
And he's just like, what is this, like, woman just yelling at me?
Women can't yell. I don't understand.
Yeah. At me. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you broke into our house. Like, what the fuck? And he's like, oh, I'm just, like, you know, trying to surprise Amy. Do, like, you know, a little, like, fantasy situation. Please untie me. And she's like, oh, honey, this is not your look. This is not your thing. You're a vanilla boy. This is not it, Chief.
No. Please
Sorry.
don't.
You're embarrassing me.
this is so awful. Especially because when she's trying to be patronizing of, like, please stop.
Right.
Amy is never here. She's with another guy all the time.
Yeah.
And he's trying to be like, but I don't understand. I was coming here to do this, like, fantasy on her. And she, like, looks through his backpack and is like, you're pathetic. You went to Home Depot. This isn't even the kind of stuff that you use on people.
Rookie mistake.
And
she's gonna get fucking rope burn, you idiot.
You actual fool. And so finally, she's like, I'm gonna call you a lift. Get the fuck out of my house. Like, you are a mistake to humanity. I never want to see you again.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing I've ever seen in my whole life.
It's powerful. It
is. And he leaves with his tail between his legs, absolutely ashamed. It was ego in shatters, just, like, absolutely unhinged.
Yeah.
And finally, Candace comes back, sneaks into Joe's apartment.
Yep.
Who's there? Not Joe. Love's there.
Yeah, baby.
Because one of the things I forgot to mention earlier is that someone had been following Joseph around, and he thought that Love had a, like, detective following him, and so he was like, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious. Only for him to find out that Love had gotten a PI to follow Candace around because she didn't trust him. She didn't trust her. Right. And so, but before
She's
he could
protective authority and whatever.
Right. But before Joseph could even figure that out, he was like, if you didn't trust me, would you have me followed? And it's like, Joseph, shut up. Don't blow your cool.
Yeah.
So, of course, Love ended up knowing that Candace had been around Joseph's apartment, and so she also ended up there, and that's how this happened. So, right. Love is in the apartment, does a evil villain, like, chair swirl around.
Yeah.
It's like,
petting a cat.
Joseph doesn't even have a cat. It's like, where did you find this cat? And so Candace decides to tell the truth to Love and do, like, an appeal to womanhood or whatever the fuck.
Right. #feminism.
#feminism. Tells Love that, like, this man that she's been fucking buried her alive in the dirt, and Love's like, I don't know. He only knows missionary. Like, this guy wouldn't do that. He has read, like, Chaucer. I don't know. But then she pulls out the big guns of showing a photo from when they were in New York. And that seems to really do it for Love. Anyways, Love does the whole, like, get out, I never want to see you again, or whatever. But we don't really see when Candace leaves. Yeah. All we see is when Joseph comes back, and Love is still at his apartment.
Does another twirl around.
Yep. And now she has cinnamon buns. And Joseph's like, dope, sweet, it's the evening
hell yeah.
time. Yeah. I love a good cinnamon bun dinner.
Oh, I fucking wolf you, babe. Thanks for the...
Oh my god! Cinnamon rolls. Babe, it's 10 p.m. I fucking wolf cinnamon buns. This is great. And she's like, great. This is exactly what I knew that. Yeah. And she gives him these cinnamon buns. He takes a huge ass bite, and then he just straight up, like, vomits. And she's like, oh, what's wrong? You don't like my cinnamon buns? You don't like these? And he's like,
my special cinnamon buns.
My special cinnamon buns? And he takes a bite, and he's like, did you make these wrong? And she's like, no, they're perfectly fine. And then afterwards, she's like, oh, well, I guess I did happen to put salt instead of sugar in them. Doesn't it suck to be lied to?
Whoa.
And here's the thing
Got
that really
him!
fucks me up.
Yeah.
This woman spent her whole time making homemade cinnamon buns
Yeah.
that she couldn't eat
Yeah.
just for this fucking bit.
Yeah, that's how dedicated she is to making Joe look like a fool.
Wow.
And I respect that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that kind of drama.
Yeah.
Truly. Anyways, they're obviously mad at each other. Instead of her, like, calling the cops on this person that is potentially, like, a murderer who assaults people, she's like, well, I'm mad at you and I'm not going to talk to you for the rest of the night. Bye. Because, sure.
Right.
I guess. And then somehow the episode ends with Delilah and Joe fucking.
Out of nowhere.
Legitimately nowhere.
Like, he comes over to see Delilah, and she's got a literal red string fucking Crystalia mood board behind her, being like, I'm gonna fucking get this guy. Right, fair enough, yeah. And he's like, hey, what's up? All that, and he is, like, looking at the Post-its, and he's like, oh, man, I'm on the list. That's fun. Like, I'm in his things. Interesting. And then, they have, like, a weird riff where he's, like, she's really upset, obviously, because she's going through a fucking lot right now, and he's like, oh, can I touch you? Is that okay? Can I, like, comfort you? And she's like, cool, now we're doing consent. Thanks, Joe.
Cool.
Woke
Great.
king. And then they just start fucking.
And I don't understand. I hate it.
And also, after that, Joe, in his little monologue narration, goes, well, it was the least I could do.
Great.
Joseph?
I hate him.
Joseph.
I hate him.
Goldberg.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
I want it to stop. I want it to stop.
Yeah, we're in a rough spot right now.
I can only hope that next week when we get to episode 7, it's better than this.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, my man.
My dude.
My dude. Do you know what is better than this episode?
Ooh.
It's our patrons.
Nice, dude.
So,
fucking segue, baby.
I'm on a segue. I'm on a segue to Patron Town. That's for goddamn sure.
I'm taking my segue all the way to patreon.com/into the twilight.
Hell yeah. This week we've got a strong selection of visual bits.
God damn it.
From screenrant.com. This is 10 Twilight characters reimagined as Hogwarts students. It is all fan art this week, baby. And it's all bad. It's all bad just for y'all. And I will tell y'all that the reactions that you are going to get from Cody are fresh off the boat because these were not previewed and not approved.
I hate this.
Why don't you start then?
Okay. Shout out to Rebecca Cullen.
Pew pew pew.
It's gonna be number 5, not again.
And
it's Edward running, fucking booking it in his baseball uniform with fucking Voldemort behind him, just waving his little wand.
Great. Great, thank you. That's great. Perfect. Shout out to Elizabeth Swan. Who's gonna be number 10, The Ball, which is which is a combination of the prom sequence from Twilight, and then the Wizarding Ball. And so we've got lots of fancy folks dancing around, and then Harry and Jacob just acting real sullen.
Can I point out, too, that everyone is wearing formal wear, and Jacob is just wearing a white beater.
He's just in a fucking tank top.
Like, at the prom. At
prom. Yep. And it's not even fucking, like, young 16-year-old Jacob. It's, like, post-transformed Jacob.
Fucking buff boy Jacob.
Yeah, it's fucking tri-tip Jacob.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Shout out Amy Taylor.
Woo, woo, woo.
Who's gonna be number 6. Another Edward Voldemort meme. But this time, it's Robert just jumping for joy.
Yeah.
Wearing nothing but his little
Skivvies.
shorts. His skivvies, yeah. And Voldemort being like, wait, didn't I get rid of this one?
Okay, Mulch, you're up. Okay. Mulch, you're gonna get number 2, the handsome couple. Which is, our kids, our boys, our babes. They're in it. So, It's Edward and Bella, but they're at Hogwarts. They're here. Just a simple one.
Shout out to Rebecca Steele.
Pew, 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 pew.
It's going to be number 1, second meeting.
Damn.
Which, there's a lot of layers to this one, I feel
This one's really homegrown.
It's a hand-drawn of Harry and Cedric Diggory / Edward Cullen, both TBD. But also, like, Pokemon?
Yeah, there's a lot happening here.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Shout out to Kelly Beck,
Pew, pew, pew.
who's gonna be number 3 origin story.
Oh, no.
Which is Bella asking Edward, how do you become a vampire? And rather than him dying from the Spanish influenza, we find out that his backstory is in fact that he was Cedric Diggory. And he was still saved by Carlisle, who just decided he was too pretty to die. So he got a new name of Edward and went from being a wizard boy to now being a vampire boy in this one.
Yeah.
Great.
Love that. Shout out to Taylor Brown Town Lautner. Brave little Marines. Respect our troops. The one
Thank you.
troop.
Our
Brown
troop.
Town. One singular troop. It's going to be number 4, Killing in Progress.
Oh my god, I knew you were going to choose this one.
And it's Harry getting his fucking shit wrecked and saying, kill it, Ron. And it's just a fun little clip art of Edward Cullen in the corner with Ron assumably, like, beating his head in with something. This movie is so dark. My computer is on full brightness right now, and I can barely see this image.
Yeah, I couldn't see it at all.
It's so dark.
It's so bad.
We just let movies be this dark. How did that happen?
I, honest to God, don't know. Shout out to Aaron Salinger,
Woo!
who's gonna be number 7, 2 Blacks.
Okay. Oh, God, this one sucks.
And this one is Bella and Jacob, and Sirius and Bellatrix. And Bella and Bellatrix are saying, "Hi, Black." And Bellatrix is saying, "You dog," as well, I think. Or both of them are saying, "You dog," I guess.
Sure, I mean, they're both kind of dogs.
Here's what I'll say. They did Sirius so goddamn dirty in this.
Yeah, everyone else has, like, full facial features. And, like, they're all drawn out and beautiful. And Sirius has 2 dot eyes, eyebrows,
so
and
mean.
a mustache. And nothing else. He's, like, a fully no nose, no features, no mouth, no nothing. Just a blank. He looks like a mannequin.
He does.
That someone just put little googly eyes on.
You know what he looks like? He looks like a me. He looks like a me character.
He does, yes.
And that's cruel.
For my boy?
For my son, Sirius Black, unacceptable.
Yeah, love that. Shout out to Sophia Salinger.
Pew, pew, pew.
Who's gonna be... I don't like any of the other ones left. Number 9, Love Triangle.
Oh, wow. Same artist, it seems.
Yeah, just similar drawing, style. Where it's just like a very intense little love polyamorous moment.
Yeah.
With Cedric and Edward and Bella and Harry Potter.
It's just the whole ding thing.
I'm so confused. My brain hurts.
That's a lot there.
Ow. I hate it.
Okay. Well, I have something that I think you won't hate.
Okay.
Which is your fan fiction this week.
I trust you.
Well, you shouldn't. This is titled 40 Bag.
Okay.
And it was written by Sierra_Row. And it was published last month on January 11th of this year. And the description goes as this. What would an episode of You look like from 40's perspective? Turns out, it looks a lot like an episode of Fleabag. Featuring 40's dirty thoughts about Joe, unrequited longing, addiction backstory, and how 40 talked love into letting Joe stay at a Navrin. So, I'm going to read you an excerpt from this.
Great.
A lot of this is a mixture of his thoughts, like 40's thoughts, as well as some backstory on here. Mm. So this starts in 40's head. Do you think Joe has any idea how hard I'm crushing on him? My old sport doesn't pick up as much as he thinks he does. I mean, I've been ironically referring to Jay Gatsby since I met him, and I never once has that himbo gotten the joke. All right, time to do this. He crosses the floor of a Navrin to the book corner. How's it hanging, brosif? 40's taken to calling Joe by whichever bro nickname pops into his head. He wants to make it a habit so the other nicknames don't accidentally pop out. Babe, beautiful, my light. 40 has always known he was attracted to guys, but this full-on infatuation, this was new. He mostly dated straight. He liked to think of his sexuality as 90% Tinder and 10% Grindr. He always figured he'd end up with a woman, but Joe was making him rethink his own presumed levels of hetero flexibility. There were lots of things 40 hated about being 40 Quinn, but being around Joe drowned out that noise for a while, kind of the way drugs did. For fuck's sake, he practically felt high when he was around Joe. Joe's presence in the room went to his head and made it buzz pleasantly, like a bottle or two of Dom Perignon interspersed with a couple of lines of Coke in the bathroom at Patina. It made him feel both stupid and energized at once, like he'd never have to sleep again. I think he's my new addiction. Fuck it. Maybe this is how I get clean for good this time. He can be my crack, baby. Truly, the one thing keeping him from trying anything with Joe was his sister. Even though the two were broken up at the moment, he would never invade his sister's territory like that. The thing was, last night Love had tried to cut Joe out of both of their lives completely. And that was a step too far. Joe and Love were a good match. Maybe she thought she didn't want Joe around right now, but she'd change her mind. After all, it was Joe. And if 40 saw good things in him, he knew Love did too. And scene.
Shout out to Himbos.
Shout out to Himbos!
Shout out to Himbos. Represent.
Shout out to the himbo in your life, you know?
Yeah, everyone's got one.
Everyone's got one, and if you don't got one, then I hate to tell you this, but you might be one.
I'm my own himbo. For sure.
Be your own himbo, you know?
You don't need anyone to be your himbo.
Be the himbo you want to see in the world this Valentine's Day.
Oh my gosh.
And with that, folks, as we say in Seattle,
get big.
Get whipped.
And whip a himbo.
Oh my god. Whip a chode, you know what I mean?
Stop!
This is an Earbud Media production. You can find us on Twitter at Earbud Media and listen to the rest of our shows. You can find this show on Twitter at Into the Twilight, as well as intothetwilight.show. You can send us an email at intothetwilightshow@gmail.com. You can also become a sponsor of the show or buy some merch at intothetwilight.bigcartel.com. Our art is done by Maddie Padilla, who you can find at YourGhostHost44 on Instagram, and our music is done by Eli Krause, you can find at Eli Sauerkraus and KrausFilms.com. The intro and outro is by KB Smith, you can find at KB__Smith on Twitter. You can find Allie on Twitter at Into Wild Places, and you can find me at Dyke Discourse.
You've been listening to Earbud Media Production. Earbud Media. Audio for everyone.